Our sermon again today is brought to you by Chip Joslin, and we thank him for all these sermons, and you're probably thankful that this is the last Sunday you're going to have to listen to me, because next Sunday you're going to have a real pastor. Pastor Dave will be here next Sunday. Okay, you and I are apt to have some difficulty with today's gospel. Jesus at the wedding at Cana miraculously turning water into wine. John says that this was the first of Jesus' signs, but a sign of what? We may have difficulty because we are modern North American people. That means that we are people who live in a considerably compact world. Yet, in this story, Jesus calls us into a renewed, expanded, and more abundant world. For example, let's ask Nancy to take on this job, said one of the members of the planning committee. Nancy always does such a good job on anything she undertakes. There was widespread agreement in the group. Her pastor said, "You really think that's fair to Nancy? She already has 2 or 3 jobs in the church. She is one of our busiest members, one of our hardest workers." "That is just my point," said the chairperson. "Everybody knows if you want a job done right, you always ask the busiest person to do that job." Busy people always seem to be the people who are able to find time somehow to do more. Next week, a different church committee. Pastor Tom and I have decided to adopt the foster child that we have been keeping. Such a dear little thing. The parents have given him up for adoption, and that we think that we ought to do it, she said. And the pastor asked, "Do you really think that is wise? You already have 3 children. You are a great mother, but don't you think there are limits? Aren't there limits to how much love you can give?" "When it comes to love," she said, "I haven't found my limits. From my experience, love is a renewable resource. The more love you give, the more love you seem to have. That's how it's been in my experience." Well, we're in a season of Epiphany, that time when the church celebrates the wonder of God with us as Jesus the Christ. The moment that Jesus stepped on earth, according to John, things broke forth, broke out, and overflowed. Our story has more than a hint of Easter. It occurred on the 3rd day, and the jars were filled up to the brim. There is no cautious, careful restraint in this story. Jesus just shows up at the party after the wedding, and there is this miraculous spirit of glory. I think we may have trouble with this story, not because we are so modern and sophisticated and scientific, but because we are so careful, cautious, and restrained. We don't make big moves in life. We don't ask big things of God. We keep our faith to ourselves, safely tucked away in the confines of our church. We keep our prayers subdued, cautious, and careful. Perhaps it's because we think of our relationship with God as a matter of what we feel, what we believe, or what we do. And we know how limited, how frail, and how finite are our resources. We have our limits. How many times over the years has someone come to me and confessed, "I fear I'm losing my faith"? Perhaps they are going through a tough time in their lives. Their faith is being tested by present circumstances, and they fear that they are about to lose the little faith that they do have. What can I do to hold on to my faith, they wondered. But what if our faith, our belief, our love for God is a gift of God and not our achievement? What if God is there, wanting to give us even more faith, more love, more energy to meet the demands of discipleship? In short, what if this Sunday's gospel is true? Jesus comes to a party in Cana out in Galilee. When the wine gives out, he tells them to fill up the large jars with water. When they do, the water is turned into wine, lots and lots of wine, more wine than anybody could possibly need to have a good party. So, dear people, I want you to ponder this story from John's Gospel as a sort of parable of abundance, a promise that God will give you what you need to be a truly faithful and resourceful disciple. Amen.